Choosing a device. So, a lot of thought has to go in when you are deciding where and when to purchase a device to cause blood flow restriction and implement blood flow restriction training for yourself or for your practice or clinic or facility. So, some things we need to talk about are really what are the goals of the device? And number one is we want to occlude arterial and venous return. We have to be able to occlude the blood flow in order to do BFR. Number two is we need it to be a strict enough device that will trap metabolites. If we don't trap the metabolites, we won't tap into the type 2 fibers. We won't cause a switch from aerobic to anaerobic energy sources. We won't stimulate growth hormone. Number three is we want to allow movement of the limb. It won't do us any good to occlude if we can't exercise. So we want to be able to allow easy movement. So the cuffs can't be too wide to restrict that. Number four, not necessarily in any order, but it also has to be safe. And safety really occurs around the type of bladder system and the width of the cuffs. Number five is that we want it to be reliable. We want to know that it's doing what we're asking it and wanting it to do, primarily creating that occlusion. Lastly, we want it to be sanitary. We want it to be cleanable. We want it to be reliable. We want it to last. We don't want to spend a bunch of money on these things and then it break down too quickly. So there's pros and cons to every device, and you're just going to have to make a decision on what works best for you. What you have to think about is the cost, of course, the cuff width, like what makes sense to you. Do you need it so that it has hoses that detach, or can you have hoses that keep attached to the pressure or to the Doppler? You want some reliability of holding pressure. Is it important to you that the cuffs are FDA listed? For me, it is important because it shows me that the company that has manufactured it has put the effort and time to make sure that it's a safe and reliable device. Yeah, you want to know what the length of the cuff is. You want to make sure that it's long enough to fully circumferentiate the limb. Otherwise, you won't get good occlusion. And you want to know how flexible it is, because if it's too flexible, then it will not trap the metabolites according to the research. So there's two types of devices to restrict blood flow. Number one is called practical. Practical means that you're not using some sort of sphygmometer or inflation device in order to inflate the bladder. These typically are wraps, or they are something that clip or crank. Number two is pneumatic. Pneumatic means that you're getting a pressure by inflating a bladder. So some examples of practical BFR are elastic bands, straps, knee wraps, or voodoo bands. There's also many clips coming on to the market. It has been shown in the literature that elastic bands or voodoo bands probably don't trap metabolites because of the expansile properties of the rubber. So they expand with exercise and movement. And because you don't get trapped metabolites, you don't get the benefit of BFR. Pneumatics are inflatable. They use a bladder system. They use a sphygmometer in order to inflate. And these cuffs are rigid, so there's no elastic properties to it. So when it's compressing, it doesn't allow for escaping of the metabolites. So FDA approval is not necessary for a class 1 tourniquet, which is what these are really classified as a class 1 medical device. There are two cuffs currently on the market that have FDA listing. Those are Smart Cuffs by Smart Tools and the Delphi unit out of Canada that's utilized with Owen's recovery system. And like I said, the FDA regulates tourniquets as a class 1 medical device. This is the lowest regulatory classification for medical devices issued by the FDA. Here's a comparison chart of the different pneumatic, because I really recommend if you're going to do this, especially with patients or clients, that you use a pneumatic cuff. And the pneumatic cuff will allow for reliability and able to get um, a a limb occlusion pressure necessary, and also be able to quantify that limb occlusion pressure. So if you look at the price points, you got to look and see what is important to you from a price point. If it's FDA listed, you basically have two choices, like I mentioned. Um, are you going to use a Doppler in order to measure limb occlusion pressure? You want to look at the width of the cuff. You want to look at if you're going to use this in an environment, like especially like on a field or in a performance center. Do you need a detachable hose? And is it important to you that it's made in the USA? So some of these things may be important to you. You've got to pick and choose based on what you think is important.